Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Fandom Post Radio Podcast.
You did it anyway.
This is Kane.
This fucking guy.
I did it on purpose.
Motherfucker.
This is Kane, your temporary host until Kate gets back from maybe getting some new kittens. I don't know, she was very vague, but I'm holding it down until she can get that all squared away. But with me, as always, is Kestrel.
Yo.
And DJ.
Hello, everyone.
Yes, indeed. Hello. Well, today, I think we are going to talk a little bit more about the current season, as it's kind of in its full swing, I'd say. Most shows are at least 3 episodes in, some are even 4 episodes in, which I think is a good place to sort of check back in, because I know that's where a lot of people tend to drop or pick up shows. That's my personal rule for the most part, is 3 to 4 episodes is when I make a decision. So this is always a good time to check in and see where everyone's feeling for the season. But I know, Kestrel, you mentioned earlier that we have some news. So if you'd like to get on to the newscast, we can get started.
Yeah, so a couple of news items from the top 2 highest rated visual novels on VNDB. First, Muv-Luv Alternative. So a year ago, it was announced that visual novel was getting an anime of some sort. No other information was really provided.
Has it been a full year
It's been
already?
a year, I checked. It was
Holy shit, I feel
October,
like we just talked about that.
Yeah. So in the past year, there's been no information at all. It already started with basically no information. And now, a year later, we're getting slightly more than no information, which is just that it will be a TV series, which wasn't certain before. It will air in 2021, and they released a 2-minute teaser, I guess, that reveals remarkably little for being 2 minutes long. It's basically just like some CG robots moving around, probably not any actual, like, in-show animation. No word on who's doing it, anything like that. It does use a track from the visual novel in the teaser, so that kind of implies to me that they will be using the music from the visual novel, which is often done, but not all the time. So yeah, that's pretty much the only update we have, but I assume we'll have more information in the next year since it's supposed to air in that time.
You said this was one of the higher or highest rated visual novels, right?
Yeah.
I think it's number 1.
Yeah. It's always been
Wow.
number 1 as far as I've seen, yeah, for at least the past 10 years.
Yeah, that
This
game fucked people up.
I've always, and this is coming from sheer ignorance, but you said it's Muv-Luv, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Alternative.
I just always thought that was smut.
I mean,
That's-
what isn't in visual novels, really? It's like 99% porn. Or 99%.
I don't think Steins Gate was smutty, was it?
No, that's
It
a
wasn't,
rare
no.
exception that had no porn in any stage of development. But very few get by with that.
I wonder how much temptation there was to just slip a boob in there.
I mean,
A lot. There's some fan service
Yeah.
in there. So.
there's a few shots of, like, you know, some naked girls, nothing shown, but a little bit of that.
The little
Skirting the
tantalizing.
line.
So,
Skirting the line.
speaking
I'm curious
of,
as to why it took so long, not from the original announcement to here, but just for something that's so well regarded that it's only just now getting an adaptation, because I feel like this will be a money train
yes.
as far as an anime goes.
So there's a few things about that. As with a lot of visual novels, especially those that really, like, use the medium to its fullest, it doesn't necessarily work that well as, like, a singular linear storyline with no interaction. Also, Alternative is, you know, the highest rated visual novel ever, and it is a sequel-ish to just plain Muv-Luv, which is, like, not even very good at all. So you have to get through all that shit. But apparently they think you don't, because they're just adapting Alternative, which is the good stuff. And Muv-Luv itself is made up of 2 parts that are very disconnected. And basically each of the 3 is like a new timeline of sorts, but you as the protagonist have knowledge of everything that's happened before, and it's important that you know what happened in Muv-Luv in Alternative. So I'm not sure how they're going to make it work. Also, it does a lot of references to, like, well, I guess mostly within the previous game, just the multiple routes that you've been through as a protagonist. So yeah, a lot of things that I don't know how they're going to make work.
So, a question about that as someone who hasn't played Muv-Luv, but will eventually. Is part of the reason why Alternative is so good is part of the reason for that because of everything like Clannad and Clannad Afterstory. Afterstory was impactful because you spent all of regular Clannad getting attached to the characters and everything. Is Muv-Luv a similar situation? Like, will Alternative still have the same impact on people who don't have an attachment to all of those characters?
I mean, I just don't really know how it's going to work in general, because it just doesn't make sense to me. So I feel like they have to change a lot.
They could, like, I guess, I don't know what the normal Muv-Luv story is like. I don't know if they could fit it into, like, a special. Kind of like how in Chaos Child, they recapped all of Chaos Head in the first episode.
Yeah, but there is also a Chaos Head full anime series.
That is also true.
You know,
I try to forget that, though.
right. Yeah, so like...
Yeah, those are shitty, aren't they?
Chaos Head's my least favorite anime ever. Well,
Wow.
next to
Wow,
my
shit.
least favorite full-length anime. Pupa is number one
Right.
as the worst.
Yeah, that's strong take.
Oh my god, it's so bad.
Especially since it is in the same universe as one of your favorites. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, top
It's
10, 15, 20 at least.
Steins Gate, yeah, it's top. It's either 5 or 6, I can't remember.
Okay, cool.
If you guys can think of one real quick, based off of what Kestrel said earlier, what do you think is a TV show that has the worst opening season but actually gets really good in the end?
Can I answer DJ's question first?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Before going into that completely unrelated topic. Yeah, so I think it's similar to the Clannad situation in a lot of ways. However, at least from my experience, and maybe just because it's so drawn out in visual novel form, and I don't particularly like visual novels as a medium compared to like anime, it's really obnoxious, and I kind of hated the characters in the original Muv-Luv. So I don't know whether that's the case. As for how long it is, and if it would fit in a special, I can't imagine. Like, I think at bare minimum, the Muv-Luv Extra would be 1 core, Unlimited would be 2, and Alternative would be 4. So I have no idea what they're planning, but I have to imagine they are cutting out a shitload beyond all the just superfluous bullshit that I wish they would cut out. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I'm kind of like, I want to watch it, but I really feel like this is one of the situations where I have to play the game first.
Yeah.
And
That's a really long
a big
time
time
investment.
sink. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like, especially considering I'm in the middle of like 3 other visual novels right now.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Like, I got these games in 2018, and it took me like a few months into a pandemic to actually finish it.
Yeah, you guys are made of stronger stuff than me, because I'd look at that timeline and be like, I have to do that much reading? Like, no, absolutely not.
I mean,
I can't handle a lot of like older RPGs
right, that's what I was
because of
gonna
that.
say.
There's just so much reading.
yeah, like video games in general, I have a hard time like playing more than a few a year at most, just because it's just such a long time investment, and I could get through like so many different series in that time.
Yeah, there's plenty of good games that are shorter. You just
Yeah.
gotta look for them
I guess the
a little
ones
bit.
that I tend to be interested in are on the longer side.
Oh, that's true, because you like JRPGs a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, there aren't a lot of short JRPGs.
Right.
No, that's very true. Because I was gonna say, like, Doom and Doom Eternal are quite short, and they're fucking baller as hell, and they're great. But yeah, I can't think of a single JRPG that would clock under like an average American's work week.
Right.
True.
Exactly. Yeah. And like I don't like first person shooters at all, so Doom has no interest to me.
The newer Atelier game, Ryza. It's pretty short if you mainline it. I mean, it's not like...
Who mainlines a JRPG?
Because, I was like, I'm playing it, and I'm like, oh, hey, this isn't that long. I'm like, I think I'm already getting towards the end of the game, and so, yeah. There you go.
I feel like to
Introducing
mainline a
Kate.
JRPG, you have to make a very concerted effort, because you could be doing quests that you thought were a part of the mainline, and it turns out they fucking weren't.
That's true. Oh, hi guys, I'm here, by the way.
I figured. Unless it was just a phantom busting in to chime in about JRPGs real quick.
I came in from the ether going, no, I have to say something about JRPGs.
I mean, that's as good a time as any, really.
I was
Okay.
busy. I'm busy. I'm busy again. I have a job again. I'm busy.
Did you get a cat?
No.
Oh.
I know. I go and volunteer at the pet store and take care of their cats.
Oh.
So, like, I normally do that on Thursdays, but when I didn't have a job, I'd go earlier, and it wouldn't be an issue. But now I get out of work
Gotcha.
and have to go to the cats and then come here. So
Well, that's very kind of you.
they're very cute. They're very cute, fuzzy things.
They are very cute. What's next on your news docket, Kestrel?
So, speaking of that other thing that we mentioned a bunch in that, Steins Gate is officially getting a sequel that's like a sequel, not like Steins Gate Zero, which was a sequel and also a prequel and also an alternate ending and also whatever else it is, because of, Steins Gate time fuckery. But this one is described as what Chaos Child was to Chaos Head. So it doesn't have a full title yet. It'll be Steins something, but it won't be like Steins Gate something.
Interesting.
And yeah, it's like I assume some sort of next generation thing in that universe, but it's confirmed that Okabe, Kurisu, and Daru will all appear in the story. So it's kind of similar to Chaos Child, and like the new Robotics Notes game that came out recently is a sequel to that has Daru as a main character.
Wait, really?
Yeah, it's Robotics Notes Dash, and Dash stands for Daru Super Hacker. He's like one of the main characters.
This.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Yeah, I'm curious if they'll do an anime adaptation of that. I assume eventually they will, because all the science adventure stuff eventually gets them. And yeah, speaking of this new one, which was originally titled Stein's God, apparently, but they scrapped that. I don't know that its format has been announced officially, but I assume it's going to be a visual novel, and then it'll eventually get an anime. I remember when Steins Gate Zero was first announced, it was announced like upfront that it would get both a visual novel and anime. But yeah, that's a thing that's going to happen. So that is potentially very exciting. Hopefully they don't fuck it up. So far, I think in the science adventure series, Steins Gate is way above everything else. Everything else related to Steins Gate is way below it, but still way above everything not related to Steins Gate. So as long as this fits within that area of like the Steins Gate movie and Zero, where it's like, yeah, it's no Steins Gate, but it's pretty good, especially compared to all the other science adventure stuff, then yeah, it'll be worth existing. Oh, also, Anonymous Code, which is another science adventure title that has been floated around for a while, got a trailer which revealed that Kurisu will be in that, specifically Amadeus. So I guess not really Kurisu.
Her brain, kind of.
Kind of. Kurisu emulator.
I want one. That's exciting.
Yeah. I hope it doesn't suck.
I feel like that'd be very hard to do.
I don't know.
No. It's they can suck sometimes. But
I mean, it seems like everything Steins Gate was pretty. I mean, of course, there's the first anime series, which is a classic. But I mean, Steins Gate Zero still seem perfectly fine.
For sure, that's what I was
fine.
saying. Like everything else related to Steins Gate so far has been good, even if it's not Steins Gate level. So I'm hoping that trend continues. I just can't get my hopes up too much. The fact that this will presumably follow like a different main cast and story means that it has maybe more potential to be not quite as amazing, because like there are other science adventure titles with some characters from Steins Gate, namely Robotics Notes, and it's not particularly good. So, you never know.
I'm just.
As long as it's not Chaos Head, I'm happy.
I feel like I just want endings to these things.
Well, I have excellent news for you. Steins Gate had a complete ending 11 years ago.
Yeah, but then they had to go open back up the box again.
Yeah, things that make money get continuations and spin-offs. It doesn't mean that the original is incomplete now.
Now I'm going to completely make a hypocrite of myself and say, hey, they're bringing back Tiny Toons along with... They've already brought back Animaniacs, now they're bringing back Tiny Toons.
I mean, can you really say those
I'm
had
too young
quote-unquote
to know what this
endings?
Mm-hmm.
They just kind of stopped.
Yeah, they got stopped, but I think it's weird that I'm like... I saw this, like, this thing that's like Tiny Toons Revival gets 2-season order at HBO Max, and I'm like... Cartoon Network, and I'm like... Yeah, sure, why not? Because of Animaniacs. It's already out there, so like, why not?
It just feels like everybody's out of ideas.
I mean, Tiny Toons was a really good show.
It's easy money.
Animaniacs was.
It
a really
is easy
good show.
money. That's true. I can't blame them for chasing that easy dollar.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Is that it for the Steins Gate esque news?
So that's that stuff. Another piece of quick news that we probably all expected, but it's very good to have confirmed, is that Kaguya-sama is getting a third season and OVA in 2021.
Hooray!
Yeah.
Now give it 10 more.
Yes, please. So good. Can't wait.
Yeah, that's a show
it.
I wouldn't mind going on forever.
You say you started watching it, Kane?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. I was actually just
Not
thinking...
my speed.
Oh, really?
Sorry, I'm going to cut you off right there.
Well, good, because I would have been immediately contradicted. Because I was going to say that it seemed like a show you would like.
I wanted to save you. No, I tried. Like, I did try. I guess, I don't know what it is about it. I thought about it over the past couple days before we started recording, because I just knew somehow it was going to come up. And I think it's just the style of humor, because at least the first couple episodes are a lot of, like, misunderstanding humor.
Yeah, that's true. I wasn't
and I don't
in love...
like that at all.
I wasn't
like,
in love with the series.
And I don't like that as humor, and I don't really enjoy it unless it's done really, really well as like a story plot device, period. Like anytime Emily has ever watched a J-drama, I just get more and more incensed watching it. Because the whole episode that's an hour long could be solved in 2 minutes if the people sat down and had a 10-second conversation with each other.
Right.
And that's
It's
it.
like every shoujo anime.
Yeah.
Kimi
Which
ni
is probably
Todoke
why
has like 35 episodes of misunderstandings, and that's the entire series.
And I just cannot jive with it because my
I love
personality would be like, I'm just going to solve this and I'm going to talk to the person because I don't want to be
That's the least
misunderstood.
Japanese thing possible.
No,
Yeah, it is. So I didn't really think it was in terms of Kaguya-sama. Like, I chuckled a little bit, but I found myself more often just being kind of annoyed by the misunderstandings, especially since I know it's part of the joke, but they're both supposed to be so intelligent, but they can't even say, like, 3 coherent sentences to each other that make any sense.
Yeah.
Sometimes because they're so focused on trying to, A, not be misunderstood, B, make the other person misunderstand them on purpose, and C, they just don't want to resolve their issue at hand. And I just couldn't jive with it. So this is my version of DJ hating all slapstick comedy.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way about misunderstanding humor for the most part. I don't really remember Kaguya-sama having that much of it. Maybe it was just all in the beginning. But I feel like it's a little bit of a different breed from the usual shit you get in anime, because, like, it's all just centered around this plot of them trying to, wage psychological warfare on each other to make the other one confess.
It's a
first.
really smart show.
Yeah, and I think, I wasn't in love with it at the beginning either. I never disliked it. Like, I think probably beginning it was, B- to B. By the end of the first season, B+ to A-, and then the entire second season, solid A. So it gets much better as it goes on, and I feel like you don't have to give it that much time to get there. But yeah, I mean, if you
I think I watched the first 4 or 5 episodes.
Wow, you made it past
cutoff.
the Chica dance and did... Oh, wait, you skip endings.
No, I watched the ending.
Okay, good.
I've been doing that more often now, just because I don't know if I've conveniently found some endings and openings that I've enjoyed, or I'm just too lazy to hit the skip button anymore. But no, I got to that part, but I've also never been big into dances either, like any of them. That's just not, unfortunately, been a part of otakudom or whatever you want to call it that I haven't really embraced.
I
so
like them a lot in anime. I don't like when people try to mimic them at conventions in the hallway.
Yeah,
that probably is what spoiled. That's probably what did it for me. Is that I wasn't like I was fledgling. I was a baby. And I went to my first convention, and it was just a bunch of sweaty nerds dancing everywhere. Badly.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that.
And I was like, you know what? Nope, I don't want any part of this. I don't want a single
I
part
hate
of
all
this.
dancing for the rest of forever.
Yep, dancing is now completely forbidden in my life.
That's reasonable.
Yeah, I figured it was a very responsible take. But yeah, maybe I'll give it a shot again someday. I'll pick up, if you said that misunderstanding style humor kind of takes a little bit of a backseat, but it is super heavy in the beginning.
I don't know. What do you think, DJ? Because again, I don't remember it being that strong at all.
I don't remember it being that strong either. I don't know if just the rest of the series being so good completely outweighed everything that happened in the beginning. But I know near like the tail end of the first season is when it starts being like, oh shit, like this is actually really, really good.
Yeah.
Then before that, it was just like, oh, this is enjoyable. This is fun, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
I will say, if you're not a fan of the comedic stylings after 4 or 5 episodes, I don't know if it will be for you. Because I don't think there's like a drastic change at any point other than in terms of like character drama. But it's definitely really good character drama when it gets there. It just takes a while to get there.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And it definitely like builds on that with the ways the characters interact, and you can see their growth and the growth of their dynamics toward each other work into like the comedic aspect as well. And I think it gets a lot smarter as it goes on, a lot more I don't know, just like intricately plotted out, even in terms of the comedy, because at the beginning I do remember it being like very much just straight comedy, short little silly vignettes that don't really mean anything. But like the second season, it's all pretty
very linear,
well tied together. Everything matters. Everything develops onto each other. So, yeah,
I see. Well, then, based off of that, I can completely understand why people love it. I mean, I know I'm an outlier, but yeah, it could be something I pick up again someday. Just those first couple episodes that I wasn't feeling it a whole lot, and neither was Emily, so that didn't help either. So.
It's definitely interesting to hear. I think you might be the first person I've heard from that like doesn't like it.
Same.
I was probably the first person you ever heard of that didn't think Your Name was as good as it was billed to be either.
That's also true.
Yeah. Hot take.
I don't have many hot takes anymore, but the ones I do, I make sure are heavily controversial.
Right.
Yeah, I've got a few of those.
Where did this begin?
So, I mean, we didn't go off topic very much. It was about Kaguya-sama just getting another season.
Excellent. Wow, holy shit.
I know, right? I wasn't expecting either that that piece of news would result in a discussion or that it would be an on-topic discussion. So, yeah, there we go.
We did it, guys.
Yeah, amazing.
That wasn't so hard.
So, next piece of news, returning back to the visual novel theme, is a few new announcements from Key.
Woo!
So, yeah, they have a new mixed media project coming out called Primadol, I don't know. So, you know, I'm sure that'll have a visual novel, an anime, eventually, like 12 light novels, 25 manga adaptations, all the good shit. Like, every Key visual novel has, like, at least a dozen manga adaptations. It's absurd.
Yeah, they're weird.
Yeah. So
I'm all about more Key stuff though, and I'm glad that they've been like putting out a good amount, or at least teasing a good amount lately.
Yeah.
Like they're like picking it back up.
I'm ready for like a new Key anime that's really good, because it's been a really long time.
Wait, hey, Kami-sama might get better.
It might. Okay, sure. We can talk about that.
I like it a lot. Yeah, we're gonna talk about that later.
Yeah, so along with that, they announced 3 new kinetic novels, which I realize in our chats today.
So stupid.
Normal people don't know what that means because it's a dumb buzzword that Key throws around. It's just a visual novel with no interaction. And they kind of pioneered that with Planetarian, and they've made a few others. I think a few other companies have made them. They may or may not refer to them as kinetic novels.
Yeah, that's a thing. That's just like what they're called.
Okay, but it did start with Planetarian, and the brand under Visual Arts that Key co-produced that under is called Kinetic Novel. It's like a registered trademark, so other people are just kind of adopting it from them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like a tag on VNDB now.
Yeah, I believe it. It makes sense. Got to have a name for it. Yeah, so of those three, one of them is written by Ryukishi, how's it pronounced, 07?
I just say 7.
7, okay. From 7th Expansion, obviously the creator of Higurashi, Muneko, etc., who also apparently was one of the writers of Rewrite. Another one of the writers of that, I think, Romeo Tanaka. So I think you know him better than I do, DJ.
He's very smart and strange. Cross Channel, which is a game he developed or wrote entirely by himself, is like one of my biggest inspirations for writing, where it's a lot of like speaking directly to the reader and a lot of fourth wall breaking and stuff. And he's just a really strange guy. So I'm excited to see more of his Key stuff. I still haven't played Rewrite. I made the mistake of watching the anime. Bad. Yeah, it was bad. It was. I reviewed every single episode, and I hated every second of it. But yeah, lots of Key stuff in the future, and an interesting lineup of writers.
Yeah, so those two, and then the third one is Takeshi Matsuyama, who I've never heard of, and he's written a bunch of light novels, but it looks like he's never worked in visual novels before. So yeah, interesting. We'll see what develops out of that. Considering I spent several $100s on the Clannad Kickstarter and never touched the visual novel, probably not going to end up looking at any Key stuff if it doesn't get turned into anime, but hopefully it does, and it's good.
I'm still in the middle of a Key visual novel right now.
Summer Pockets.
Summer Pockets. That could be an anime.
I'm sure it will eventually.
I sure hope so. It's good. Was there more news, or should we jump right into the Kami-sama discussion?
Now I got more news.
Okay, bring it on.
So,
why is it a Kami-sama discussion?
Well, it's the new Key anime.
We're just going to talk about God.
Yeah.
I guess that's what we're doing.
Welcome to the Fandom Post Religious Podcast.
Mm-hmm. For a spinoff.
Spin.
So my other piece of news is Netflix had a big presentation about anime specifically, where they announced a bunch of stuff. I don't know that I'm going to go through all of it, because there's like a bunch of stuff announced. You guys can, look into it and bring up anything that you're interested in. I'm going to go over the few things that I'm particularly interested in. I will say, as always, Netflix announces a lot of Netflix original anime, which means some of it may be a Netflix original, some of it may actually be anime. Some of them may be new announcements. Many of them not at least one or two of those things. But it's whatever they want to call it, apparently. So one thing that is all of those things, which is exciting, is a new Rilakuma series. So yeah, I'm excited about that. I really liked the first one last year. And
Rilakuma and Kaoru?
Yeah.
Yeah, Emily and I love the fucking shit out of that.
Yeah, it's really good. So I'm excited.
I got her a Rilakuma for her birthday.
I think you told me that. Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah, we tried to take the zipper off the back, but it won't let you.
Motherfucker. What's the point?
I know. That's the only reason I bought it.
Yeah, return that shit. Yeah. So I think this has been confirmed as another full series. So that's exciting. Another piece of news. So this one is filed under the not Netflix original, even a little, because it's been out since 2017, and they're not getting it until 2021, which is the JoJo Part 4 OVA that centers around Rohan. I think it is the only one of its kind for the new JoJo adaptations, and it's based on a, I think, kind of long-running-ish manga spin-off that's had like a few installments in the 90s and then a few recently. So yeah, that's cool. I'll check that out. It's a 4-episode OVA or something. And then the other thing that I care about, or I hope I care about it once it starts, is Eden, which is an actual Netflix original anime that was announced, I feel like, definitely over a year ago, maybe even 2 years ago. And the reason that I'm interested in it is an original anime by the director of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, the character designer of Cowboy Bebop, and the composer of Made in Abyss. So
that is an all-star combination.
Yeah,
that's a really good combo.
If that ends up bad, then I don't know, man.
GB8.
No, these are all people that are very good at their jobs in the anime industry, and not just a bunch of random people from throughout the, I don't know, art industry that don't belong in anime production. So yeah, that is coming in May 2021. It had been announced as fall 2020, but obviously that did not happen. Yeah, those are the things that I was interested in from their announcements. I don't know if anyone has anything else in there that they want to talk about.
I was intrigued by the High Rise Invasion show because I'd seen that manga in an FYE of all places like 2 years ago, and I was like, oh, this seems neat. People wearing weird masks and killing each other. I don't understand what's going on, but all right. And then I never picked it back up again. But now it gets to be an anime, so all right, we'll check it out. So, and of course, also since you mentioned it, the Rilakkuma thing is of course very exciting.
You got anything, Kate?
No, I got nothing. I haven't been paying attention to anything.
Well,
I don't know how I feel about the whole Netflix thing.
What about it?
I don't know, just in general.
Yeah, I want them to go away.
I mean, there's a few problems for sure when they get exclusive rights to an anime that isn't like one that's actually a Netflix original that they release worldwide simultaneously. Then it sucks ass because we gotta wait way longer than we should. And in general, things that they have exclusive rights to, especially ones that are produced by them, tend to get released on home video never 2 years later. So yeah, those two things suck a lot. I wish they would change because there's no reason they shouldn't.
I'd have to do more like personal research to form a good opinion on it. But I guess Kessler, you might know, or DJ might know too. The stuff that they get as exclusives or whatever, is any of that stuff that we may not have gotten otherwise in general?
No
because
way.
Then I'm okay with it.
Someone else
but
would
I don't
probably
yeah.
get it.
Because it's all the most mainstream shit.
Yeah,
so it's
they
the
just
stuff
have the
that
most
everyone
money.
wants. Exactly.
Yeah.
But Netflix has the most money. Yeah, for sure.
Well then, yeah, okay, fuck them.
Amen.
There, I'm on your side.
One other piece of news that's actually a month late at this point, and I'm ashamed that I missed it when it was announced, but I'm going to put it in here. Speaking of, wow, this is a remarkably coincidental segue. Speaking of anime series that start with the word Eden and will be released in spring 2021, and the composers of those series, Eden Zero, which is the new anime from Hiro Mashima, who did Fairy Tail and Groove Adventure Rave or Rave Master. So that's coming out in spring 2021 as well, and the composer for it is Yoshihisa Hirano.
Yay!
You may have remembered me interviewing a month and a half ago and being like, hey man, when are you going to do some more good anime? Because it's been 6 years since you've done any anime except like Zoids. And he was like,
Are you saying Zoids isn't good?
For doing new anime that isn't to sell toys to children.
There we go.
And he was like, I'm definitely working on stuff. It'll be out next year. I can't talk about it yet, but it will be coming soon. And sure enough, 2 weeks later, it was announced. And I don't know if it'll be like as continuously long running as Fairy Tail, but it certainly will be a very big property, considering it's, Mashima's follow up to that. And the manga, I hope this anime is good because obviously I want to hear his new music. The manga isn't particularly highly rated as of right now, and I liked Fairy Tail a lot at times. The final season had some really good like backstory of the main villain throughout various stages of his life, since he's like many hundreds of years old. And the studio that's doing it is JC Staff, which is, a competent studio, but they're not especially in the business of, making, what's the term, silk purses out of sow's ears or whatever. Something like that.
Insert phrase here.
Pretty sure that's how it goes. Polish and a turd, basically. So if the manga is not that good, I don't know that I should expect them to really knock it out of the park. Compared to, like Madhouse, who did all of the anime that I really love his music from. Hunter x Hunter, Death Note, Hajime no Ippo. Obviously, those are all great manga to begin with, so it has that advantage. But yeah, I hope this series is good enough that I will want to watch it beyond just hearing his music, so that I will, get to hear it without killing myself.
And 2 Eden announcements back to back, and neither of them are the one that I want.
Which is what?
Minori, who is the visual novel circle that did F, has a game called Eden Fairy Tale of the Two, and I would love an animated version of that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to when this new Eden series actually comes out, so that when I search Eden anime, I actually get stuff about it instead of just 100 results about Eden of the East. That's another Eden anime.
Oh yeah, it's a thing that exists.
Yep.
I like it.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It
I never saw the movie.
Yeah, it didn't really know how to end it with the movies. There are 2 movies that follow the series.
That's the one with the weirdest looking art, right? Eden of the East.
It's
their
Chika
faces
Umino.
are strange.
It's March comes in like Lion, Honey, and Clover woman.
Oh yeah, you know what? I see that. Yes.
You may notice that all the characters look exactly like
they do.
Characters from
It
those
never
series.
clicked until right now.
Yeah. But yeah, they are somewhat unusual character designs for that kind of show. It's kind
DJ, that reminded me of when I was talking to Castro about Silver Spoon, and I was like, man, these people look like Full Metal Alchemist people.
Yep.
I was like, well, what the fuck is this? And then it turns out, same person, completely different style of show.
Their eyes just like seem like they're in the wrong spot. Like it's like when I look at those characters, I'm like, there's something wrong here. It's like their faces.
I don't have an
like
image up. Are they like too low?
I think they're too high. I don't know.
Oh, they're too high.
It's like another situation like The Promised Neverland, where it's just like it's so much face, so little face at the same time.
So much forehead, so little face.
So much head, so little face.
Yeah, she definitely has unique faces in her designs, but like, I don't know, if we can get used to and love the Hidamari sketch Madoka style, then
oh yeah,
anything is possible. And I love the way that March Comes in Like Lion especially looks. And I think through that I've really enjoyed her other works visually as well. All right, that's what I got for news.
Excellent. So now we can move on to talking about the season and doing our check-in. Is there any show that people wanted to start off with voluntarily, or are we just going to have to divvy this shit out?
Kane,
yes.
How about you choose a thing that we talk about? You're good at that.
Okay. This last episode of IWGP was finally what I wanted the show to be.
Yeah, watchable.
Yeah, like interesting and good. Like just as a general show. I mean, I think I wrote that down in my my notes that this is what I thought the show was going to be, and it's the only thing that saved it for another week of watching it. I mean, I'm still waiting for a lot of questions to be answered, but yeah, the tone and the idea of Makoto like investigating a gangland murder, somewhat, and doing stuff that way is way fucking better of an idea than let's guard weird YouTube creep.
Right, dude? Like, we had weird YouTube creep and, like, curry restaurant that, like, underpays their employees, like, back to back. And I'm just like, what the fuck is this show?
Oh, that was my first note for episode 2. It was, why is this poor nerd getting fucking hazed at a bargain curry joint?
I am so fucking...
And these aren't gangs, by the way.
What is this show
these
supposed
are cults.
to be? I don't understand what we're watching. Because, like,
I don't get it either.
Like, I feel like the last 4 episodes, the only thing that they've accomplished is making gangs look not that bad. Which I feel like isn't a thing that you want to accomplish when you make a show like this.
I don't...
Yeah, they made them look like community service groups.
Yeah, they've introduced 2 gangs so far. Well, I guess 3 with the latest episode. And all 3 of them are, like, fucking lawful good. I don't understand what's going on.
Well, I don't think the last
one
one was lawful good. The last one actually seemed to be acting like a real gang. At least...
Well, no, they had one rogue dude who was, like, mean to everybody, and everyone else wanted him out of the gang because he sucked. Like, they were all like, wow, the last guy sucked, he beat girls, that's a horrible thing. Like, yeah, that is a horrible thing.
Did you miss the part where they, like, beat the shit out of Makoto in the alley because he was, like, asking too many questions?
I mean...
Yeah, that was like the first real gang thing that didn't involve weird dance or YouTube people.
In their defense... They gave him, like, 10 chances beforehand.
That's true. Sticking his nose where it don't fucking belong.
Yeah, it's not even his ward. Get out of here, Makoto.
Episode 4 also started to show it, which is nice, but I'm still waiting for any, like, kind of backstory or background on King and how he became so, like, revered as a leader, because right now he just seems more like a suit model.
Yeah. A suit model who's just, like, suspiciously good at fighting.
Yeah, it's because I'm used to seeing gang members in, shows like Sopranos, The Wire, movies like Goodfellas, any of those, like any of those Hallmark gangster and or gang things. The leader typically does put off like a slightly more refined look, but then they always show eventually like, oh, this guy's like fucking nuts or whatever. Like there has to be some type of aggression and ambition that got you to the top. You didn't just get to the top of this gang by being polite and like really, really, really good looking. Like that's not how it works normally. So I was glad to see King kind of like almost smash that dude's face in with the sledgehammer.
Yeah, that almost happened.
And it looks like that's what he was ready to do. I was like, oh, here it is. Here's what got him to the top. He is ready to murder at a fucking pin drop. So I hope they do more of that. Because, yeah, I mean, they're still like, where's the money come from? All those other answers. And these aren't gangs. These are cults. No one joins a gang because the guy's really good at dancing. Like, there's those kind of things. But if they can keep the tone from the 4th episode going, I think it will get better. I don't think it's going to get great, but it could get better. And no more episodes about weird onion-eating YouTube guys.
Yeah.
Do not need that.
Yeah, we didn't need that at all.
I mean, I think that was kind of a like, hey, look at these dumb things that that people do on the internet for publicity, and their 15 minutes of fame, and their, whatever. Bizarre. The thing that got me about that whole thing was that everybody trying to explain to Makoto like what YouTube is essentially.
Oh yeah.
I was like, has he been living under a fucking rock? How does he not know what like YouTube is?
You mean Zeta movie?
Yeah, well, it had the same logo as YouTube.
2 different things, completely different things.
Yeah. I was just like, my first reaction to that episode with this freaking YouTubers was the whole Steve Buscemi, how do you do, fellow kids moment, because it felt very much like somebody trying to explain to like your 7-year-old parents what, fucking influencers on YouTube do.
Yeah, I mean, I get that message. It just didn't feel like it told us anything about any of the characters.
No, it's like
at all. It didn't do anything other than show that YouTube people can be weird, especially what feels like the early days of YouTube that they were trying to cover, where people could get famous by just eating onions, which I don't think is quite the case for YouTube anymore because it's grown so much that, I mean, most of the big videos you see have insane production levels, not just a guy eating an onion in public as fast as he can. But I could be wrong. There.
That episode kind of went from like the beginning of like, like Gonzo Media YouTube videos, people getting, click revenue and stuff, to like how it has crashed in about 30 seconds. Like they're like, oh yeah, well I had this, I could afford this team of like guys to like work for me and produce my videos and stuff, and then by the end of the episode he's like, yeah, I had to fire all these people because I don't make enough money anymore. And they never address the reason why, like that those companies are predatory and they skim money off the top from their content producers, and we're even if they were still getting 1 billion views or whatever, they're not making as much money anymore. They never got into that.
No, they didn't. They were just like, the money is less now. And that was kind of their only reason to move the story along in terms of firing the bald guy.
Yeah.
And whatever else happened. Yeah, so episode 4 was enough for me to want to watch episode 5, because if it was going to be another like kind of shitty thing, I probably would have dropped it. But if it can keep this tone, then I'll keep it going and see what happens, because I am still somewhat interested in how Makoto gets away with everything that he gets away with, like being a part of the gang but not being a part of the gang, and being friends with the police but not friends with the police.
Have you ever met those people like in high school that could like go between every social group and everybody liked them? Had nobody?
No, we didn't have any of those.
Okay. People like that actually exist. There are those people that are like super charismatic and they're just like super nice and friendly to everybody and stuff, and like they can just like talk to anybody and they're like accepted by everybody.
Yeah, I know some of those people.
Yeah. Makoto's one of those people. He's just like this super nice guy, like that could just, talk to anybody really chill and casually and stuff. Like that random guy, like in episode 4, the guy just talking to him and being like, "Hey, could you help me out? You look like you're your son's age, and you could be in a gang. Do you know, XYZ?"
That felt like the start of a side quest.
Yeah.
Like, oh hey, youngster. Though I did really enjoy his cab's sound system with the tube amp and all that horse shit. And then when he just popped a CD in, I was like, Jesus Christ.
It seemed appropriate.
He's got this nice tube amp and all these other gauges and stuff that are like stereotypical hallmarks of a hi-fi system, and then he just pops probably some random burnt CD in there. So I enjoyed that, but yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about IWGP. Hopefully next week doesn't suck.
Yes. I'm like looking at this episode going, oh yeah, you guys remember what quality is in storytelling, you just choose not to.
That's pretty spot on. So if that's about it for IWGP, DJ, I kind of want to hear your opinion about Sport Climbing Girls, because I looked at that and that show looked like straight trash.
Same.
Yeah, okay. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I did not have high expectations going into it, but it's serviceable. It is an anime
Fan serviceable?
Yeah, it's definitely fan service heavy. It's like not as heavy
Kate.
on the fan service as like the Dumbbell anime was. It's like there's actual information about rock climbing in this anime, so they're not just bullshitting.
I mean, there was in that too. It was just accented by lots of heavy grunts and stuff.
Yeah, this is a lot less in your face. Like Dumbbell Show was like they were intentionally like just fucking throwing fan service at you, and they were like, "We know why you're here," and it's just not as heavy in Ibukakaru. It's still not great though, because it's still an anime about something I'm not particularly interested in. Just kind of structured like any other sports anime is, where it's just like, we're trying to be the best, so this is our montage of us trying to be the best, and that's just what the show is so far. Nothing
Just
really
like
to
one
write
long
home about.
montage.
Yeah, it's like one long training montage. Protagonist is interesting because like it's 4 members of a club, and they're like trying to get to nationals, and everybody has like their way that they're good at rock climbing. And the main girl was like, she used to be a professional gamer, and so her strength is that she's like able to analyze the wall like it's a fucking video game, because apparently rock climbing walls are also puzzles. And that's not a thing I knew prior to watching this show. So she figures out the puzzle and then does climby stuff. The end.
I did go to a climbing gym once.
I've never rock climbed before. I want to. It looks fun.
It is fun. I've also been to a rock climbing gym a few times. It is a lot more tiring than you would think.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a full body exhaustion. It's not just your arms. It feels like everything's about to just wither and die if you're there for a while.
Yeah.
But it's fun, for sure. Alright, I don't think anyone else is watching that out of this group. So, DJ, if that's it for your thoughts and feelings on girls climbing.
That's basically all I have to say about that show.
Fantastic. Kestrel, is there anything you wanted to talk about? You have quite a long list.
Yeah, DJ and I have the same number this season.
Oh yeah, you both do. How about that?
Yeah. No, I figured
I don't know if I've ever tied with Kestrel before. He's always above me.
Yeah, probably the fact that I only have like 3 carryover shows is probably why.
Have you dropped anything so far?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is just how it's going to be from now on. Because this is the new DJ who's able to watch this many shows. I probably wouldn't have been able to, like, last year.
Mm-hmm.
The new and improved DJ.
The new and improved DJ. The one with, like, more than 4 hours of sleep.
Whoa.
Yeah, life is good all of a sudden.
Anyway, I figured someone would just pick what I talk about. So I don't have anything in particular.
Okay. Let's talk about Moriarty the Patriot then, because I'm also watching that.
Okay.
My only real like observations, other than that I generally like it, and I'm kind of like DJ with the Climbing Girl show. It is better than I thought it was gonna be in some ways. But Kestrel, I want to know your opinion on I guess generally Moriarty, like the twins, their idea as it relates to like Death Note and the whole if we just kill the bad people, it's gonna go away and the world will be great.
Right. Yeah, no, it's definitely the same kind of moral conflict, which I kind of talked about the last time when the first episode came out, that I expected it to go that way, and it's definitely going that way now that we're getting like their backstory and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we can all get behind Eat the Rich, especially in the context of, old noble England, where the rich are just real bad. So yeah, it's easy to get behind what they're trying to do, and get some twisted catharsis, some Schadenfreude from seeing terrible things happen to these people. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's not really going to achieve their goal, and it's just a bunch of sociopaths from childhood doing bad things to people, just kind of for their own self-satisfaction for the most part. Occasionally it will have some other good side effects, but I'm interested. I definitely like it more now that we've gotten into like the real story and gotten their backstory. I'm definitely interested to see the dynamic once Sherlock finally shows up, because I think it has a lot of potential to get more interesting there when you have like the L side of it, providing the law, and also in most cases the perspective that hopefully most people who aren't sociopaths can get behind. But having that conflict at all times where you're kind of rooting for the protagonist as well.
Yeah, it brings up the unfortunate case for me in this show of William, basically the vehicle for you to feel sympathy towards the Moriartys and their struggle. They did a really good job of making his face look like the most punchable face in anime that I can remember. But I put this in my notes for episode 2, and it's actually my first note in episode 3, which was I was a little concerned that they were just going to turn him into a complete, like, parody of a rich person. And that's exactly what happened.
Yep. For sure. Yeah, I'm reviewing the show this season, and that's definitely something that I talked about a lot in the last episode, was that I'm glad that we're getting this premise that kind of has inherent moral ambiguity. But even within that, where kind of both sides are in the wrong, one of the sides is so just comically evil that it's a little hard to feel like it's a real story with real characters.
Yeah, and I'm afraid that's going to pull me/us out of it more than what's intended, because, yeah, it completely felt like William, especially, was just like a caricature.
Exactly. That's exactly the word I used in my review.
Yeah, he was just a caricature of the exact thing that Albert and Lewis, and I can't remember, is it William, as well? Okay, I thought I was wrong. I was like, there's no way they're both William, but I couldn't remember. But yeah, William, Lewis, and Albert, it was just supposed to be a vehicle for you to be on their side immediately.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
To really get rid of any gray zone, at least right in the beginning. But man, they just rode that shit so hard. Like, I think I immediately wrote that note down as soon as he said, clean up this tea mess with your tongue. And I was like, okay, no one ever did that.
This has never happened in the history of ever.
Yeah, I don't think this was on the reg. And I get they wanted to make him look extra bad, but still, like, that was kind of a, okay, so William is just bad for the sake of being bad, and we'll never learn anything about his personality until he's dead.
Yeah, he's not a person. He's just a means to sympathize with evil acts.
Yeah, absolutely.
With murder.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole like, I am a child who is immediately okay with murdering my entire family. I feel like it was a little rushed to get to that conclusion. I know that they just wanted to kind of get the plot going, and this kid is a good kid in a horrible environment. But I feel like the leap was made a little quickly, and that's kind of like,
oh, you mean Albert?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. No, I agree.
Because that's kind of the main character, William James Moriarty, not to be confused with William James Moriarty, the other one. He's obviously just like this sociopath, like Makishima from Psychopaths. I get a lot of those vibes. But this kid who grew up in this rich, snobby environment, who, like, I feel like we haven't gotten enough of why he is so different. Like, it's almost hard to believe that he could be so drastically different if this was how he was raised his whole life. Like, I get that he goes to see the poor.
He didn't do really any actions other than going to the school.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
To show that he vibes with the commoners.
Yeah, that's his only exposure to, like, commoners are human beings, instead of just the ideas that everyone around him in his environment have. So that was a little weird, but yeah, in general, I do like the show a lot more. I think it has a lot of potential, and I'm looking forward to it. And I'm, enjoying the twisted Schadenfreude of it so far. I enjoy some good Etheridge stories, but I'm
for sure.
I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how Sherlock plays into it and how the conflict goes when you're probably not just going to be rooting for one side of it. I certainly hope that when Sherlock Holmes is introduced, he is a more three-dimensional character than all of the supporting cast antagonists we've gotten so far.
I would be insanely disappointed if he wasn't,
right.
Considering Sherlock Holmes has such a breadth of historical bank
exactly.
for them to use.
Exactly.
one a question that I think is interesting about this show is I wonder which setting leans closer to Victorian reality vis-a-vis nobility. A show like this or any Jane Austen novel. Because a Jane Austen novel is basically the exact opposite, where all the rich people are pretty much kind and all they do is go to balls and eat and try to marry each other off, and they interact with commoners, and nobody really seems to have a problem with the fact that they're so rich and everyone else is so poor. Just so crushingly poor. And then you get to Moriarty, the Patriot, which takes place around the same time period, and all the rich people are just insane assholes, except for that one blonde lady. That was all about getting the orphans or whatever.
Yeah, which, I mean, even that was just a
I'm sure reality
symbol.
existed in the middle.
Yeah.
I just wonder which one would theoretically be closer to reality. And I'm also wondering at what point in time is the ethos of Moriarty going to just tip over into kind of the more insane, sort of like how you only have so many rich people that do really bad things.
Yeah.
When is he just going to start killing them because they jaywalked or whatever?
Right, yeah, it's the Light Yagami dilemma.
Yeah, exactly.
Once you kill all the evil people, you're the only evil person left.
Indeed. And the only other thing I liked that I wrote down in particular was I did enjoy that they made Albert get physically involved.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just Albert bankrolling the Moriarty twins with his insane riches.
I do appreciate that, yeah.
Yeah, so they're not just like his dogs.
Yeah.
Like, he is an active member of this, I don't know, fucking cabal or whatever it's going to turn into. This anti-hero sort of character. So that I did find that a little bit refreshing, that it wasn't just, I'm going to let you do whatever you want and I'll cover for you. It's like, nope, you got to get your hands dirty to show that you actually mean it.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was good to see. But yeah, it's better than I expected it to be, so I'm looking forward to it as well. Plus, I also take part in the catharsis of eating rich people. Cool beans. Kate, what are you watching?
Ikebukuro, and Sleepy Princess.
Ooh, Sleepy Princess. I like Sleepy Princess.
Sleepy Princess.
Do you want to talk about Sleepy Princess?
Sleepy Princess is a very competent adaptation of its source material. It maintains the feel. All the voice acting seems to be perfectly cast for the characters. It's very comfy, as it should be. I don't know. I'm happy that it seems to have managed to, treat the sort, it's a good adaptation. It's just, I am happy with the show. I don't know what else to say. It's a very chill show, and not a lot happens in it. But I think I'm not the only one watching it.
Yeah.
No, I think Kestrel and I are both watching it as well.
And I've also...
I agree with a lot of that.
I'm also, I've read the manga, and I don't think either of you have read the manga, so I'm more interested in other people's impressions of the show, just because I know way too much. As a fan of the manga, I am happy with the way the show has turned out.
My brother and I are really enjoying it. I am a little bit concerned that it's going to run out of jokes.
Mm-hmm.
Because the premise is rather limited. But what we've watched so far, it's my favorite show of the season because it always makes me laugh a couple times an episode, and I like the joke about how she's so dumb that she keeps dying over and over again. And it's her own accord, and I like it anytime the Blue Frankenstein minion is on screen.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah, I like him a lot. He is my favorite of the minions. Him in Batty Diamond, just because its name is Batty Diamond. So I don't think he'll ever show up again, but he was my favorite. But yeah, that's my only real concern about it, is just I'm afraid the shtick is gonna wear thin.
Yeah.
Don't worry, it's just gonna replace that shtick with other running gags and more shtick. So.
I mean, if it does, that's good. It's just the whole, just trying to get a good night's sleep or whatever. There's only so many things, I guess, that'll contribute to that. I don't know how to phrase it exactly. It's just
the premise seems limited. It's
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
Uh,
That's about it. Kestra, what do you think?
Yeah, it's already starting to wear on me a little bit. I'm hoping for some new stuff pretty soon because yeah, I mean it's a comfy show, but it's a sleepy show because you can only do the same thing so many times before you just get tired of it, and that's kind of where I'm at with it. It's not like drop territory yet, but it's definitely moving downhill just with its repetitive nature. So I hope for some new stuff because yeah, it's very competently produced, and it does manage to be pretty consistently funny and enjoyable. It's just yeah, I get kind of worn out with the same joke over and over.
yeah, the manga does move away from the whole like, sole focus on her trying to get a good night's sleep to, more hijinks and stuff at some point. I just can't remember when that some point is because I'm like on a volume 12 or something of the manga, so
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of it. Just hopefully they can get to that other shit quicker. Because I think a lot of people are feeling that. If you look at like the comments, there's some people that are saying the same thing. So, hopefully the show turns in a slightly different direction eventually here. But yeah, it's been good. I have been enjoying it. I'm glad I picked it up because it wasn't even on my radar before the last podcast when you guys were saying how it was good and funny, or at least it was something to look forward to in being good and funny. So
it is that.
Indeed.
It is that. I think, I don't know. It's nice to just be able to like watch something that's not going to like cause me angst right now.
There are like 15 other shows this season that would also do that.
Yeah, but this...
That's
like it depends on what gives you angst.
Most of the shows, I feel, every season are just kind of laid back.
Laid back camp.
Oh my god, don't get me started.
We'll have plenty of that to talk about next season.
Oh man, I love it.
Yeah, it's going to be fucking great. That'll be a great season. It'll be very enjoyable.
The sequel season.
Yeah,
yeah.
Jesus.
I'm looking forward to everything about it. But unfortunately, that is not for a little bit yet. We have to be patient. We must remain steadfast. But yeah. Let's see what next. DJ, let's see. What do you
pick something?
Okay. How about you and Kestrel talk about that Love Live show or whatever?
Yeah. Okay. So Kestrel likes a Love Live.
I mean, like I watched all the other ones so far, so I liked them well enough at the time. In retrospect, I'm like, why did I watch all that? Which is why I went into the season being like, I'm not gonna watch any more Love Live. And then DJ had to be like, oh, it's amazing. So I gave it a shot, and it is frustratingly good.
Right? Like, I hate how much I love it.
Like I certainly don't love it on the level that DJ does, and I'm sure I never will. But compared to previous Love Live series, what I was expecting, what I want it to be, which is bad, so that I can ignore it. Especially since, like I mentioned last time, I want Love Live to stop. Not just like TV series, just the whole...
Just in general. Just Love Live needs to stop.
Yeah. As a franchise, as a selling... as idols that are being sold as products, as commodities. These human beings are being sold to you. And the fandom, all of those things need to stop. But the show is okay. It's actually annoyingly good.
Yeah. It's like I was saying, like after the first episode, they're just like flexing how much money they have now.
Mm-hmm.
It looks so much better than the other shows, and it's completely different formulaically as well. Is formulaically a word?
It is.
It sounds
now.
like, okay, yeah. If it's not, it should be. It sounds like it could be a word.
It could be.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that there's like an actual protagonist this time, and I like that they're focusing on the solo idols more than just fucking throwing them all in a giant pot and boiling them. Lets you actually like learn the characters' personalities more, which is something that Love Live's always been lacking in. It's like, yeah, you have cute characters, but they're just archetypes that dance.
Yeah. It's every moe archetype split into 9 parts.
Exactly. And the characters in this, at least, I have more exposure to them than you do since I played the new game. But they have actual like personalities and shit and like backgrounds, and they're actual characters. They're not just archetypes anymore, and it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite girl already got her episode, so I'm not gonna. The blonde.
Okay. Yeah, she was pretty good. That was a good episode.
Yeah, I like her a lot. She is so nice. But the show, it's still fun. I'm having a good time. It looks really nice, and the music's rad too. So, hooray! Love Live.
I've always been surprised by Love Live not looking amazing because one, it's so successful. They have so much money. And two, it's always been by Sunrise, who's one of my favorite studios. They've put out a ton of really great stuff. So yeah, the ugly CG dancing that has been
so
like
bad.
a trademark of Love Live for so long has always kind of confounded me. So I'm glad to see that they've really stepped their game up with that.
They go all out for those songs.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, and the whole solo thing, the fact that these characters really exist on their own and then come into the group and interact in that capacity helps it a lot. And yeah, the fact that there is a protagonist who's not a member of, like, not an idol, that's cool. Just the fact that it's not just the same thing exactly as it was before, because Sunshine was exactly the first Love Live again.
Yeah, it's like even every single girl had a parallel to another girl. They were all the same thing.
So unoriginal.
Yeah, it was not good.
Yeah. So yeah, the fact that it's not that even a little bit, that you can't even try to make parallels between the characters, I appreciated that a lot because it is still a 9-member unit. So they certainly could have, fallen back into their old ways and just copied their moneymakers.
Yep.
But they definitely feel like new characters and more like characters than just tropes.
Agreed. I'm glad that I ruined your season by making you like it.
Thanks for that.
All right. Well, that's Love Live. I don't know what else Kane and Kate are watching. I think we covered all 2 of Kate's shows.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Kane, do you have anything else that you'd like to discuss?
I'm watching Wandering Witch.
Oh, we're all watching that. Hooray. Well, all except Kate, who finished
I'll get
already.
around to it eventually at some point.
Will you?
That means fucking never.
Not a chance.
No way.
Elena's a sociopath.
Yup.
I
Things
love
got
her.
dark very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, she is less witch and more a member of Starfleet in that she does the fucking not messing with societies or towns or anybody for any reason whatsoever. Very good. The Prime Directive.
Yeah.
She is very good at that. She rolled up in that town that was having the happening, and she just fucking bounced.
That's the flower one, right? Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Well, I never saw the happening, so like I wasn't sure. Yeah, the end of that episode, I thought that was gonna be just like a fucking one-off thing, where it's just like, oh shit, this is whack, I'm out of here. But then like that happens like in the next 2 events as well. So I hope that it's just the rest of the series is just more of her finding horrible shit and just leaving. I'm all about it.
I mean, that's what she's been doing so far.
The last 2 episodes, yeah, but the one before that, it was like not that bad. It's just like a girl who fucking manipulated her or whatever. Like, big deal.
Yeah, like that one was very
fucking deal. Who cares?
No, I mean, yeah, the second episode, she was kind of the victim, even though she kind of knew what was going on. And she spent most of the episode helping this person who, robbed her. So yeah, it was a very different view of her, and especially comparing what we expected from her from like the first episode to the past 2, we were like, she was very cute in the first one. She had a breakdown because she was just trying her best and, got bullied by her teacher a lesson. so that she wouldn't be arrogant, and now she's exceedingly arrogant, complete sociopath.
Yeah, she's insanely arrogant.
It's great. She's so full of herself.
It's so bizarre, yeah. So I feel like it is not at all the show that we expected, because we were like, it'll be like a nice little Yasuke show. She'll go around doing nice things. But one thing that Kane did mention after the first episode, when we last discussed it, was comparing it a little bit to Kino's journey, which is now 100% the case, because not only does she roll through random towns and check out what's going on, but terrible things are constantly happening, and she just strolls on through and doesn't care, which is right in line with Kino.
I mean, Kino cared. She just also was like, nope, sorry, I'm out. 3 days.
Kino cared more than Elena, but in terms of, how much they're going to invest themselves in fixing the problems, it's a similar dynamic.
Kino at least wanted to stop the cannibalism that was going on in that one episode. I feel like Elena would be like, I wonder what humans do taste like. Well, anyway, see ya.
That's true.
She would just fucking skip
100%
town.
True.
Yeah.
Anyway,
she's
see ya.
just getting worse and worse.
Anytime like shit starts to get real, she's just like, alright, peace.
Yeah.
Alright, out. In ways, after you had brought that up again, I thought she's worse than Kino, because she could actively help and chooses not to.
Yeah.
Like, she could definitely help. She could have reversed time on that one guy, the village elder. She could have Benjamin Buttoned him to death if she felt like it, but she
Same
didn't.
with Plant Man. Like, Plant Man's all like, I'm becoming a zombie, and she just like stares at him and flies away. It was beautiful.
She's like, bummer. Good luck with that.
Weird. Out.
Sucks to be you.
I don't know if you guys noticed in the second episode, but I wrote this down specifically. That was actually oddly creepy. So you know the shot where the girl is in bed with Elena and like crying about how she doesn't have friends or or whatever it was, and then it pans down to the shot of the old man reading and just smiling as he's like listening to her sob.
It didn't even occur to me.
What the hell was that? They pan down and he's just like,
because she's finally talking to somebody. She has company. And her sister's gone.
She is sobbing out loud.
It was an emotional breakdown. It was a big moment for her, and he's happy that she can feel.
I took it as he was happy to hear her crying. That's the vibe I got.
That's definitely what it looked like.
Knowing how the last 2 episodes have gone was probably the more accurate one.
Yeah,
because Elena's just great at watching people die, just fucking straight up. And then everybody knows what happened to that girl at the end of episode 3.
Oh, yeah.
I don't care who you are.
I mean,
everybody knows what happened.
The way she narrates it, like, it kind of doesn't leave anything to the imagination. Like, this is how this story goes.
But then she does say, but this one, I don't know.
Yeah,
who knows what
That's her trying to be
you
optimistic about how much she is just a sociopath.
Yeah, that's just her being coy.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't know what happens this time. What do you guys think?
I can't blame myself for this, because anything could have happened.
Yeah, Bullcut Coon needed to learn how to read a fucking
Oh my god, he
before
sucked.
He popped that
Him
bottle
and his
open.
jar of happiness.
He sucks so hard, because I get how you would think that would make someone happy, but if you like thought about it critically for more than like 10 seconds, you realize that it wouldn't, because all you're showing her is a life she'll never have.
Yeah, that was I fucking love the Funimation comment section on that episode in particular, because that's when everybody realized they hate Elena, and it was great.
Yeah, because that episode,
she's not
was half
super
that and
she's
half
really
the plant
not.
people. Yeah, we had the first episode where she was very likable and sympathetic, and then the second one where she was a good person, and then the third one gives you half the plant people and then half the little girl whose life is even more ruined now.
Yep.
I wonder what the fuck happened.
Can we talk about episode 4 for a moment?
With Mia Rose or whatever her name was?
Yeah, with that whole
shit. That
was
another dark episode.
Yep.
Yeah, it definitely was. Also, nobody gets pregnant in time. Like, it's just some matter-of-fact natural progression. They're like, and in time, she became...
Oh yeah, I did like the way they worded that.
Yeah, like, it just happened. Like, she was just walking around and all of a sudden the baby... Maybe I just had a bad, like, sex ed class in school, but that's not how I was taught. I did like episode 4, though. Was it snowing or was that
I
ash
think it was
from
ash.
the burning buildings? Because I couldn't tell, because she talked about how cold it was.
Oh, it might be both.
Because I thought they definitely went out of their way to make it look more like ash, which I thought was a nice touch, because some of those snowflakes were just like squares, which is just not how snow is normally depicted. So I think it really amplified the eeriness to that city and kind of the whole situation than if it was like whimsical snow. This was like very foreboding snow. Like, you knew shit was fucking bad. More so than a normal, completely abandoned city would be.
That episode. You go.
I was just gonna say that environment kind of reminded me of Girls Last Tour a little bit.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, kinda.
Now that you bring it up,
the snow that is actually ash makes me think of Chernobyl.
Yes.
That episode really, if not anything else, really made me question what kind of world this is. Like, how there can be one environment like that just so detached from everything else. Like, it's, how did no one else show up and like try and do anything about that town before?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, to me, it feels like the world is just a bunch of like hamlets and towns completely separated by miles and miles of open road.
That's very
much like
Kino, yeah.
Yeah, which is very Kino.
They're all drastically different, yeah.
Also, that bacon looked hella good.
Yep.
That was some very good food porn. Some very good Iyashike food porn.
The third episode had some of that too, with the big fancy meal.
Oh yeah, it did. Yeah. It did, with the slave girl who was cooking, and then, man, I wanted her to kill that dude so bad.
I think that's what a lot of people were expecting. At least, yeah.
That's what I was expecting.
It's like, why? Cause that's like the plant thing was, I guess, foreshadowing. It's like, oh, maybe Elena's not a great person. And then you get to the fucking slave girl, and it's like, okay, Elena's definitely not a great person.
See, that's the situation where you need Moriarty.
Yeah, he would have... Oh, man, he wouldn't have just killed him. He would have done, like, some real fucked up shit to him. That would have been a very cathartic episode for people who don't like rich people, if it was a Moriarty episode. What'd you guys think of the amnesia angle at the end? I didn't get it. Mainly, and maybe you guys can help me out. I don't get why you give yourself amnesia when you get the memories back, you're, like, completely cool with it.
I don't think that we should
it sounds like...
ground anything that Mira Rose did in sanity. She was definitely a disturbed person. Like, she's dealing with some trauma, so I feel like you can just write it off to that.
Just write everything off.
She's fucking crazy.
It reminds me of the...
Because normally when you think someone gave themselves amnesia, it's because they didn't want to feel the guilt of what they had done.
And then she just leaves a letter about, like, what she did.
Yeah, and then she leaves a letter, gets her memories back, and is, like, happy about it.
You know, the circumstances are completely different, but everything about how that played out, especially how you just described it, is, like, Light in Death Note, again. When he gets his memory back, the whole Justice Plan scene.
I don't even remember that.
Really?
That was one of the best episodes.
Oh my God.
That's such an iconic moment.
Yeah.
When was that?
That shit was insane.
It was like, you remember the arc where he had no memories of himself as Kira?
I vaguely remember that, now that
the
you say
Yotsuba group
like that.
arc? Yeah, so it was the end of that one, which was, shortly before the big turn for the end of the first half of it. You should watch Death Note again, or read it.
I should watch it again, but only the first half, because I didn't like the second half.
Yeah, I think the second half
I think that's generally a common
yeah,
opinion.
I mean, it's definitely weaker. I think it's a little stronger in the manga than the anime, because the anime just rushed by it, like, at double speed. So they cut out a lot.
Right. So yeah, that's probably what I'll end up doing is, just writing all that off to, like, her mental breakdown.
Yeah.
Of everything that was going on. I'm curious as to where a witch's power ends in this universe, and if there's anybody that keeps them in check, because Mira Rose was just like a nuke.
Right? Like, the difference between her and Elena is like fucking night and day. Like,
yeah, she was just straight up Gilgamesh.
she's stronger than Gilgamesh.
When she did the Gilgamesh thing. Yeah, when she did the Gilgamesh thing, I was like, oh, she is just way, 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 way too powerful for this universe.
She didn't even like show any signs of fatigue and just did nothing but channel magic into a fucking pit for like 5 minutes straight.
Yep.
Much like Gilgamesh.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah, she's terrifying.
Yeah, and she's just one of probably dozens and dozens of people with that similar
Right?
power. And I'm wondering, like, where is there like some governing body making sure that they don't just destroy the entire Earth or whatever planet this is, this European like planet?
Well, I think it's gonna cover all of Earth because we got Japan Girl from Japanland.
Japanland.
I wonder where they're going next.
Oh, that's right. She was from Japanland. That's
You can just tell by
that was
their
also
names,
weird.
yeah.
And she's from a far off nation in the east where they all have black hair, etc. The usual.
Yeah, because there's got to be something keeping them in check so they just don't enslave the entire normal population.
Right. You'd think so.
So I mean, if they don't cover it, it's no big deal. It doesn't bother me that much. I'm just more genuinely curious because they haven't really put a top end to what being a witch is and what being a witch is not.
Yeah, the entire world
other
itself
than-
is like what intrigues me most about the show. Like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah, I feel like in her journeys in these past 2 episodes of sociopathy, it's really, again, like Kino, just really turned into such a surreal world that it's kind of hard to apply real world logic to a lot of it. You just kind of accept that it's this bizarre alternate universe that's just so foreign.
Super duper. Yeah, I can't figure out if Elena makes me enjoy the show more or less.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about her
in
right
some
now.
ways.
I would like
I'm
her to
kinda
have
torn.
like empathy again. That's a characteristic I enjoy in a protagonist generally.
Yeah, generally. or at least a twisted form of it.
Yeah,
Like something other than just abject apathy
right,
at
exactly.
most situations.
Yeah, I can deal with the psychopathy more than apathy.
Yeah, so I'm hoping they give some of that back to her, or she at least expresses a little more of it. Because, yeah, it's refreshing since she isn't as witches, at least in the past few years, from my experience, have commonly been portrayed in anime. She is quite the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd like her to have, just a little bit of humanity and not just working as like a conscientious observer that writes it down on her book, which will be a New York Times bestseller. So, yeah. That's, I think I put that in my, B tier show, because A tier was Sleepy Princess, B tier was Moriarty and Elena, and then C tier was IWGP and still is after the 4th episode, but it could go up or down at either point. But that's all I'm watching for the season, so. I still have yet to watch Burn the Witch. I've been meaning to. Because I know I can just knock that shit out.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with all of your stuff out of the way, why don't you choose something else for us to talk about, Kane?
Okay. I'm gonna look at Kestrel's list. And I actually want to know about Irregular at Magic High School, this like second season or whatever, because I really liked the first one, but I thought most people either hated it or at the very least it was like somewhat I can't remember the word. It just escaped me on the tip of my tongue. But either you loved it or you hated it. It was very
divisive.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
But you seem to have given it a pretty good rating, which means I'm probably gonna have to watch it because I just like all the characters and how bland they are.
It's such a weird reason to like that show.
I think because I treat it as a comedy.
I guess so, yeah. Yeah, it's I think the second season so far is better than the first, but I might have liked the first one more at first before it just started to wear on me over the course of its 2 cores and then 6 years of retrospect. Yeah, I think it's got a pretty good story going with the new character that's added to the main cast and kind of a 3-way conflict between like the main characters, her, and a new villainous group. and kind of how that extends throughout the world of magic and anti-magic people. But yeah, I mean, it's still basically more of the same. So if you liked it, you'll probably like this. It's not by Madhouse anymore, but I think it's 8-Bit that took over, who's been mostly unremarkable other than Slime. And it's a pretty good production. They're pretty good at keeping consistent with Madhouse's style. I'm pretty sure Taku Iwasaki's still doing the music, because that music bumps, as you might say. So yeah, it's generally more of the same. I'm a little more into it right now than maybe I was in the first season. So, your mileage may vary.
What is the main guy's name? It's been so long. Tatsuya?
Tatsuya, yeah.
Yeah, I love Tatsuya. I've mentioned it before, but it's just mainly because he's such a blank slate that it's laughable.
It is pretty comical, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the main reason. I'll have to tell my brother, too, because he liked Irregular Magic High School so much that he cosplayed as a student from it. Just like a random student at the school or whatever, but that's how much he enjoyed it, as opposed to myself or my roommates. But I'll have to let him know that there is another season and we can actually watch it. And apparently it's good, or at least on par with the first one.
Yeah, reflecting on the first one, I was like, do I want to watch another season of this? I guess I'll give it a shot. So the first season, to me, is kind of on that level of, just barely warrants looking at more. But I've been enjoying it so far.
Yeah, that's good enough for me, really. I'm not picky about it. Is Higurashi all fucked up yet?
Okay.
It's more fucked up than you'd think, really.
Yeah.
Because I know the show, or the property in general, is very fucked up, but I did read on Reddit or whatever that it does take some time to get there.
Oh, it's more fucked up than the reasons that it's normally fucked up.
Yeah, it's okay. I think today I messaged Kestrel on Slack about it, either today or yesterday. I can't remember which one it was. But I think I finally know what this season is, and I'm 95% sure this is an alternate telling rather than a sequel, and that was kind of up in the air before. I'm pretty sure they're just changing one major thing every arc and just turning it all into what if it happened this way scenarios. And it's
like the ending of Clue.
Yeah, like the ending of Clue.
Yeah, exactly like that, right?
Exactly like that. So far, after 5 episodes, it's not nearly as good as the original one. But I still don't even know if what I think it is accurate or not.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna have a concrete opinion of this show until the last arc, which is when I made my concrete opinion of the original Higurashi, because that's when things actually happen.
I know nothing about Higurashi, but I know everything about Umineko.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Everything.
Somebody said that a character from Umineko shows up in this or is alluded to. And if it's the character who I think they were alluding to and what you just said, now things are making sense to me. So, and I don't even know anything about Higurashi, so,
Yeah, and I don't know anything about Umineko, so this is, I don't know if we're gonna figure anything out, or figure any similarities out here. But it's a show, and I don't like what they did to the first arc of it. It's just, Higurashi, it's always been exaggerated. It was a very hyper-violent show in the first season. Not throughout the entire thing, but the climax of every arc was just shit gets real. And shit gets real in this Higurashi as well, but it's a lot less believable type of shit getting real. It was comically violent.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I just assumed it was always like that.
Yeah, it's not like that. It's actually just violent in the original Higurashi. And this one, and I guess I'll minor spoil the new Higurashi. There's a part in the end of the last arc where he just fucking starts beating Rena over the head with an alarm clock. And that was she's already stabbed him 86 times by this point. And that was the point where I was like, okay, this is not good anymore. Like, the fact that he was conscious after being stabbed like a million times, enough to grab an alarm clock and beat a girl over the head with it repeatedly as they just continue to fucking stab each other. It's not fun anymore. It was just strange and not believable and just comical at that point. It's not supposed to be like that.
Was it trying to go for shock value?
I don't even know what they were trying to go for. I think that's like what it was supposed to be, but that's not how it turned out at all. Like, it was funnier than dramatic. So, not a fan of that decision. And I am interested to see if they fuck up this arc just as badly.
Yeah, so I guess we didn't quite like cover the backstory of why we don't know what this show is. So all along we were kind of led to believe that this was just a straight remake, and from what DJ was saying in the last podcast episode, the first episode of it is an exact remake of the first episode of the original series. But then the second episode, well, it reveals the true title of the series, which had not been revealed before. And I guess between that and a scene it shows that implies or explicitly tells you that there's a time loop plot on top of maybe the other time loop plot, which I also have questions about.
Yep. Sounds about right.
That it is maybe more of a sequel redo thing. So in that way, it feels a lot like Rebuild of Evangelion to me, where there's been kind of that question since the remake, since the Rebuild series began, of like, this is a remake, but it's a lot of things are changed, and it could conceivably be like a redo that takes place after the original. So given all of those things, someone like me who hasn't seen or played or read any of the original are wondering, should we even be watching this? And no one seems to have a certain answer to that yet.
Yeah.
So it's weird.
Just Higarashi's existence in general makes that a hard question to answer, just because of time loop stuff. So like,
right,
there's no conceivable way to figure out what it is yet. And so I feel weird like telling Kestrel to keep watching it, because I don't know if he can yet, or I don't know if he should. And what we have right now isn't particularly that enjoyable.
Yeah.
It doesn't live up to the original so far. I don't know what's going to happen yet, but who knows at this point.
I'm really intrigued by the story, and like when it decides to have a story, it's good most of the time.
I can't say more without spoiling the original, which I still want you to watch if this doesn't ruin it for you.
Right.
But they like revealed the big reveal in the second episode of this show. So
yeah, which like, it was obviously a big reveal, and like, shit is real now, but it also didn't mean as much to
me. Like, that's like having a new viewer see that shit off the bat, they're just gonna think it's just like, oh, I guess this is just part of the show, and it's not. That's not like a thing that you're supposed to know right away. It completely destroyed the impact of it.
Yeah, I don't know what to think. I don't know who the right audience is, because like, I feel like
I don't think anyone knows.
All the reactions from people who have seen the original or played the visual novel are just like comparing it to that, and critiquing it based on that factor, which I don't think is necessarily legitimate. If it does serve as like a reboot, it shouldn't be just compared all the time. It should stand on its own. But if it's not supposed to stand on its own, it's supposed to be a sequel, then that's another conversation. And if that's the case, then the more it is the same as the old one, I would think the worse.
Yeah.
Because if it's only for people who have already seen this story, then you want as many things different as possible.
If this is a sequel, which I don't think it is horrible. Like, this is not how you do it. And it sucks, because the second season of Higurashi is like in my top 10. That's when Higurashi got amazing. The third season doesn't exist. That's not a thing that we talk about. But if this is a fourth season, which I guess there was also technically a mini fourth season of Higurashi that we also don't talk about. If this is the fifth asterisk season, it's even worse because it's just showing us the original first season again, but changing things in it, which doesn't really change anything about the story at large. So I'm hoping it's an alternate.
Yeah, the ideal situation, which I think, the rebuild of Evangelion does a good job at for its first two movies, especially the second one, is that, if it can just introduce new viewers to it, stand on its own, work as a new version of the story, and also offer new experiences to existing viewers, that's kind of ideal. But there seem to be a lot of questions about whether it's the right series for literally anyone.
Yeah, like, you can't spoil the entire first season in the second episode of your show if it's a reboot. That's like if fucking Citizen Kane, like, his dying breath in the beginning is like, Rosebud, my sleigh. Like, the entire time you're like, okay, well, I know what it is. Like, it just ruins the impact of everything.
But aside from all that, I was saying when it decides to have a story, it's interesting, it's good. I'm intrigued about more and where that goes. But the rest of the time, it's so fucking annoying. It's so obnoxious. I hate everyone.
It's even more exaggerated than the original version. Like, the characters, they were always kind of annoying just because, like, it's an old school feeling show where everybody is just a caricature. And they really play it up now.
Yeah, and like, maybe the cast was less obnoxious when they were like not 50 years old, but they just sound so awful. Like Soichiro Hoshi, he's really annoying in a lot of roles. Sometimes he's fine, but when they just have him play a role like this, where he's just screeching, super annoying all the time, it's really rough.
Yeah,
and
Keiichi
the girls
is
are super
not
annoying.
Particularly enjoyable.
Yeah, I fucking hate Nipa. I always will. Every time I'm like, oh, this show's okay, then Rika says Nipa. I'm like, motherfucker.
God damn it. And then, like, Rena fucking does her thing, too.
Yeah, her cute thing. Ugh.
Mion's my favorite. She doesn't have any annoying tropes.
Exactly.
I want to throw that out
She's
there.
Like
she just talks like a normal person.
Human being. Yeah.
I don't know if you realize
cool.
this. She carries a gun around, like, on her fucking shirt strap. Just look at her shirt next time. No one has ever said anything about it in the show. It's just part of her design. She just has a gun.
I feel like I noticed that once.
Yes. No, I just love how it's never addressed at any point.
But yeah, it's really annoying, especially everyone's voices.
It's a very annoying show.
Character quirks, and yeah, it kind of looks like shit. Like in
doesn't
general,
look good.
It's an ugly show.
Like, the only reason I have it at a B right now is just because I have, like, sentimental value attached to this show.
Yeah, the only reason I haven't dropped it is because I feel like it has so much potential, and I'm just really intrigued to see where it goes and find out what it is and what it's supposed to be, and if it's the right show for me. But yeah, it's something that I should probably drop eventually.
Yeah, it's a letdown so far. So
yeah,
here's hoping it gets better.
It does.
Can I ask a question?
What's up?
Yeah,
this is an honest question. I'm just gonna preface it by saying that. So, hearing you guys talk about it, is this show good? Or is it a show that's so bad but people desperately want to convince themselves it's good so they can lord over each other with how good they think it is?
This one or Higurashi in general?
Because you guys have done nothing but talk about how shitty it is.
Yeah, this version of it is not good. It's the original version, which is not this show.
On your list.
The original version is very good.
Because everything I've ever seen of it, it just looks like really edgy stuff without a whole lot of substance.
No, it's
now that's
like 99.
That's coming from someone who hasn't seen it.
It's because, like, and that's what most people think of Higurashi. It's like YouTube clips where a girl fucking like stabs herself in the head or some shit. That's
Yeah, and that's what I've always seen. I'm like, oh, this is one of those where it's just going to try and shock me into thinking
a very
it's good.
And that's how
small part
I feel
of
like
the show.
That's how it felt like it was based on this anime's adaptation of the end of the first arc, I guess.
Yeah, that's...
Like, it seemed like that validated that opinion of what Higurashi was,
that's like one of the things I hated about the ending of the new arc. It's they made it so cartoony and not visceral, and a lot of the impact in the original Higurashi, it's like when those things happened, you didn't really expect them to happen. There's some shit that I can't say without spoiling major plot points, but all the violent stuff, that's a very small part of what Higurashi has to offer. It's a lot more prominent in the first season than it is in the second. The second is when they really start getting into detail about like the actual plot and time loop stuff, and it's a very big story. But of course, most people just expect it to be like gore porn. It's not that.
I mean, it does do that.
It does do that, but
I say you can't deny it.
It definitely does that.
It does
do that. It's a smaller part of the show than most people think, though. Like, if you are watching it expecting an all ages intense storyline, that's not gonna happen. Like, there's fucking violent shit, but the violent shit has a purpose. It's not just there to be violent.
Yeah, it's been weird in my experience so far, because there's like some interesting mystery storytelling sandwiched in between just like unbearable visual novel hijinks and just comical gore porn.
Yeah, it's not good in this version.
Yeah, because I was just generally curious, because I can't remember anyone saying a lot of good stuff that it wasn't immediately followed by all the stuff that's bad. and I was just curious. I guess the
only like complaints I have about the original version are the acting, particularly the English acting, but that's not really a big deal since it's not like the source. The original dub is horrible, but it was like lovably horrible, kind of like The Room.
Is it a product of its time, really?
I think it's a product of its time and just
bad?
Also being bad.
I guess what I meant by product, to clarify, product of its time, is in like it was before voice acting became what it is now, which is a highly desirable career.
This was, I can't remember when this was dubbed. I want to say it's like mid 2000s. So like dubbing was a thing, but it wasn't as good of a thing as it is now.
Yeah, it wasn't as across the board polished, but like you didn't really have an excuse for making a bad dub.
Yeah, like it was just genuinely bad.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Yeah.
Is there anything else anyone wanted to talk about? We're getting cuddly up with our 2-hour mark, so I don't know what we wanted to do here, but I know there's still plenty of shows, but I don't know if anyone was feeling it particularly strongly about any one of them that they really wanted to shout to the rooftops.
I would like to hear Kestrel's opinions on The Day I Became a God, because he has it rather low, and I feel like there's good reason for that.
Yeah, so this was the new key show that we were alluding to earlier. And, you know, this is kind of a repeat of my last comments of just, I don't like the beginning of visual novels. And even when Jun Maeda is writing an original story for a television series, he still writes it like a visual novel.
It's true. Okay, that makes sense.
Which is obnoxious, because I assume this is the same as the other two, and it's only going to be one core, where you do not have time to fuck around for this many episodes in the beginning.
Okay.
Which is the biggest problem with most visual novel adaptations, and especially like the key original series that are only one core. Like Angel Beats ended up being a very good series for a lot of really great reasons. But if it had been two cores, I think it could have been a masterpiece. Charlotte had a lot of problems, and a lot of that stemmed from fucking around a bunch in the beginning and then rushing like an entire arc in the last episode. This one, it's been, 3 episodes, and it's just dumb gags, and I don't like a lot of key humor that much, certainly compared to the dramatic storytelling. So yeah, it's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, that makes sense when you put it that way. I am a fan of the key gag humor. It's definitely unique. It's not for everyone, I can agree with that. But without really knowing where this show is going, like Kestrel said, fucking around, it could bite them in the ass with this. Like, if this story gets crazy serious, like I imagine it's going to, because it's a key show, I hope to be able to look back at this beginning part and be like, just that was me remembering when times were good and everyone was happy, right, and blah blah blah. Because like I love Clannad so much because there's a lot of that in Clannad, which granted has 4 cores, so there's time to fuck around. I don't know how much time there is to fuck around in this show, and I don't know if I will have as much time to get attached to the characters as I'd like. The good part of these visual novel hijinks, though, is that it does help, at least for me, kind of. I don't want to say. I'll say it. I'll immerse myself in the setting and just fucking acclimate myself with all the characters and everything. Jumping right into drama is never great, in my opinion. Like, you do want to set things up, but there has to be a defined point where you stop setting up and actually do stuff. And I don't know when we're going to start doing stuff, because this right there is no sign of actually going anywhere yet. So in that regard, I definitely see where you're coming from.
That's definitely like my opinion on like Shinkai movies, and why I think that Your Name was such a huge leap in his writing career, because the fact that he let his characters just be fun and silly for so long in the beginning is why they became so endearing and why it was so emotionally impactful. However, like I've mentioned many times in this episode already, visual novel style humor just makes me really annoyed with characters. And not as much with this show, not as much with Key in general, for the most part. Obviously, I love Clannad After Story, and I wouldn't love the characters as much if I hated them in the first season. But as I was mentioning earlier in this year when I was, rewatching the series with Caitlin, a lot of that first season, I feel like could have been done better. It definitely doesn't make me love the characters as much as it could have. It's just that the characters that really matter are the ones that you continue to follow.
Yeah. I can't remember much about like the original, like the first season of Clannad, because normally when I like go back and watch it, I'll isolate After Story and like watch that as its own thing.
See, I've never done that.
Yeah, I want to go back and watch OG Clannad again, because I think in my head I just like completely combined them. And so watching Clannad without the After Story part, I'll probably be able to come up with a better opinion on that as itself. It's just it's so heightened by what comes after it that it probably sticks in my head as greater than it probably was.
Yeah, and like the first few episodes, there's some rough stuff in there. But it's interesting because of the impact that After Story had. My first time watching the first season of Clannad, I was like, I guess that was a little better than I expected, but certainly didn't seem that great. And then I watched After Story, and then the next several times I watched like the full series all the way through, which were all within like the next year. Watching through the first season, I was like, oh my god, I love these characters so much. But then after like 5 years of not watching any of it, and then going back and rewatching it from the beginning, I was like, yeah, I mean, I have this great sentimentality and nostalgia associated with the series because of what comes after. But from a more critical standpoint, there are a lot of problems with the first season that I can recognize. So yeah, that's kind of the key dynamic. at its best, I guess.
Yeah.
I'd love it if I could just adore a key story from beginning to end. But yeah, it's kind of Maeda's style, is the humor at the beginning that I don't love as much. So back to my, Shinkai comparison, I think Shinkai's style of comedic writing that he used in the beginning of Your Name is much more in line with what I find humorous and endearing and not obnoxious.
Shinkai's less visual novel-y, which I understand.
Although he did work in visual novels.
He did. He worked on F.
Yep.
All right.
Is that everything?
So.
Do we want to lightning round other things at all?
I'm down to lightning round.
That's mainly up to you and DJ,
right,
as Kate and I are cleaned out.
A lightning round.
I feel like we should at least acknowledge your number one that you didn't need to.
My top show of the season, which has changed since our last episode. It was originally Love Live. Adachi and Shimamura is the Yuri show of this season, and so far it is fantastic. It's about two delinquent girls who start getting closer during their skipping of class because they're delinquents. And the entire story is mostly told through inner monologues, which is something I have a soft spot for. And both characters aren't particularly great people. So seeing a relationship develop between people who aren't exactly great socially is always fun, especially when it's a blooming first love between girls that are realizing they like girls for the first time. That's a recipe for success in my book, and it looks really good, and it's got one really strange supernatural element to it, which I guess is fun to throw into slice of life shows. Just one thing that makes the world seem not real and remind you that it's an anime. So that's my top show right now. We already talked about Love Live. We talked about Day I Became a God. D4DJ. It's Bang Dream. If you like Bang Dream with DJ, or if you like Bang Dream and you like DJs, watch this. It's fun. Tonikaku Kawaii is also fun. I don't really have a lot to say about that show, but it's cute, slice of lifey stuff. It has a similar visual aesthetic to Tsurezare Children, which makes me happy. And it's just fluffy, and I want to hug everybody. Wandering Witch, Higurashi, Gymnastic Samurai. Nobody's talking about this, and it's pretty good. It's a dude, a retiring gymnast who tries to not retire anymore and become glorious again because he's a fucking former gold medalist or some shit. And it's just a return to form show. Other than that, there's not really anything worth noting. I do want to say though, Hypnosis Mike, the rap battle anime, is now above Ikebukuro Westgate Park for me. So they're both bad. It's just one is bad and fun to watch.
Which is the less threatening gang?
What do you mean? Out of all of the between the because there are multiple gangs in Hypnosis Mike.
Oh, okay. So the gangs in that show in general versus the good boys of Ikebukuro.
Okay. Can the Hypnosis Mike dudes use their mic? Because that's just how people fight in that anime. There's no actual fighting. It's just rap battling. A dude holds up a bank with rapping, and it's sweet. But
I feel like you've already answered my question.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So the Hypnosis Mike dudes would win if they can use their mics.
The answer wasn't who would win. It's who's less threatening. And no matter how unthreatening the good boys are, the guys who fight with mics are less threatening.
I don't know, man. The cops are afraid of the mics.
All right.
Yeah, the cops are not afraid of the gangs in IWGP, so that is a definite step up for the microphone.
Yeah, there are illegal
gangs.
mics too. That's how a dude holds up the store. He's got illegal mics.
That's
it's fucking so dumb, and it's amazing. It's great though because I'm realizing now the show does not take itself seriously at all, and so that makes it better.
Yeah, you kind of can't with that premise.
No.
Yeah, you'd be hard pressed to do that.
Okay, so you're not gonna go over anything else on your list then?
I don't think so. Kuma Bear times 4 is fun. Chocobare Fruit Tart's fun. Oh, you're probably going to talk about Jujutsu Kaisen more than I am, so you can take the lead on that.
Okay, yeah, so I guess going through my list, not counting stuff that's always running, New Haikyuu, it's kind of same as the last one, definitely down in quality from the first three seasons, especially the third one, which is definitely peak Haikyuu. So hopefully it improves and, returns to form eventually. But yeah, Jujutsu Kaisen is really good. It's continuing on the trend of really high quality Weekly Shonen Jump adaptations, which I continue to be very happy to see. The animation is incredible, definitely the best animated show of the season. Yeah. And it's kind of got that vibe of how these recent Weekly Shonen Jump adaptations have been going, where it's going to be, 2 cores, which most of them have been. So you get nice, brisk pacing. You kind of hit all the sweet spots of a good shonen show right off the bat. It gets you into your plot line, gets you introduced to your characters, builds some fun dynamics, has amazing action choreography. And yeah, it's just a really polished production all around. Mm-hmm. And if you're into shonen stuff, it's pretty ideal for that kind of storytelling.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much all of that. I'm not a big fan of shonen, which is why it's a little lower on my list than it is for you. But I will completely acknowledge that it's very well made. The animation is ridiculously good, and I just don't really care about any of the characters or the story itself, so that knocks it down a peg for me. But it's still enjoyable. I have no intention of dropping it at any time.
Right. Yeah, so that show is good. Jujutsu Kaisen is definitely way above everything else. So it's Jujutsu Kaisen with an A-, and then my next highest thing is a B for the season, which is Love Live, which we talked about. Tonikaku Kawaii is very cute, as you might assume from the name. Fire Force, regular Magic High School, Akudama Drive. I feel like I need more time to talk about it than we have right here, but it's a big dumb action movie. And I guess it's the creators of Danganronpa, so if you like that, maybe you'll dig this. I'm surprised I like it, because it's, I don't know, seems like it's trying too hard to be cool in a way that usually turns me off.
That's how Danganronpa felt too.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know why I like it, but it's kind of working for me so far. Also, every episode is named after a Hollywood action movie, which is fun. Moriarty we talked about, Wandering Witch we talked about, Osamatsu-san continues to be okay, but decreasing in quality as it's gone on. The first season was definitely much better than this one so far. Sleepy Princess we talked about, Day Became God we talked about, Yashahime, that's the Inuyasha Next Generation thingy. Those Next Generation things don't really work, huh? And Higurashi.
Yeah,
that's my list. I want to like Next Generation stuff, but for some reason they're never very good.
It's always
Boruto is the same way.
It's always because it's just like mini clones of their parents.
Exactly. Like this one is definitely better than Boruto, which was just straight up. It was like Love Live Sunshine to Love Live. They were just pure clones of their parents. This one's a little bit better. It's got some blends of elements. We're still not sure who Sesshomaru fucked. Yeah, that's all anyone wants to know. But yeah, it's mostly just wow, wouldn't this be more interesting if we were spending more time with the characters we know and love, and then we spend time with the characters we know and love, and we're like, wow, wouldn't this be more interesting if this was the original story that had a complete ending? So yeah, that's kind of what I get from most of these Next Generation shows, for anime anyway. It's done better in other forms of media occasionally, but yeah, it's kind of a hard sell sometimes. It definitely feels like just a empty cash grab, because it is.
Scathing.
All right, are we ready to recommend stuff?
Sure.
Are we?
I am. I can talk about mine first.
Yeah, I got one thing.
There is a pretty sizable sale on Denpasoft right now, which is one of the biggest visual novel retailers, I guess, digital retailers, as far as English localizations go. So there's a huge sale over there, and I'm pretty sure their entire catalog is discounted at some point. And my second favorite visual novel of all time, Hoshizora no Memoria, is on there, and you should play it if you like cute stuff and reading for like a bajillion hours before anything happens, which is true visual novel fashion. And I love it. But people like Kestrel don't. So if you're like Kestrel, don't get it. If you're like me, get it. The end.
Is your first favorite visual novel of all time Lessons in Love?
Yeah, that's a pretty great game. So I'm going to recommend that as well. Side note, we passed the $5,000 per month landmark, so we're getting a bunch more fucking characters soon. And I want to thank all of the presumably 0 people from this podcast who have pledged to me on Patreon. But maybe you could be the first.
No,
Check out Lessons in Love on Patreon.
I hate the very idea of you being successful.
I'm like legitimately conflicted about it. Like, I'm really proud of DJ, but it makes me feel really shitty about myself.
Yeah, I'm kind of there. At least I have a job now.
Kestra, what do you think that objectively you'd have a better chance of finishing, a visual novel or like an old school LucasArts adventure game?
Oh God.
Ooh.
I have no idea. I have never looked
Monkey
into
Island
those,
or whatever.
Even a little bit.
Yeah, Monkey Island or Full Throttle. That's not LucasArts, but that's another classic.
Those games were
Actually, that
fucking
might be
tough,
LucasArts.
weren't they? Like, you had to do some weird shit in Monkey Island.
I mean,
They're not tough in that they're difficult. They're tough in that they don't
Yeah,
make
exactly.
any sense.
Yeah,
and eventually it just turns into clicking all over the screen
Exactly.
and hoping something works.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That definitely sounds worse than most visual novels.
That's kind of
I've
how
made
my
it
visual
through
novel
a lot
is.
of hours of visual novels.
It's like you've got to choose, like you have to go out of your way to choose options you wouldn't normally choose to progress in my game.
So your visual novel is just everything I hate.
It's like the Dark Souls of visual novels. So many.
That's literally
so
everything I
many
hate
fucking
combined.
people are just like, I'm stuck, and I'm just like, read better.
The only reason that I'm fine with slogging through a billion hours of a visual novel is because it's so easy.
Yeah, this isn't.
Sounds awful. But apparently it's great.
It has made me
Thank you.
good money.
That good money. It's allowed you to sleep.
Yeah, I can
maybe.
actually sleep now, and like I don't worry about how much fucking plates or how many plates of sushi I get at the revolving sushi place.
That was your one. That was what was keeping you up at night.
Yeah, like fucking.
Yo, don't
I
sell
just
that
want my
short.
big goal in life was to go to the grocery store and not have to buy the cheap paper towels. That's where I am now, and it's great.
My goal in life is to not die from COVID.
That's also a pretty good goal right now.
DJ's a bounty boy now.
I don't know what that means, but I suppose
The
I
quicker
am.
picker
Oh,
upper.
like bounty paper towels.
Yeah, I was also like, what, a bounty hunter?
I'd be like, wow, damn.
No. I was doing.
I actually
paper
don't have
towel
any
reference.
paper towels in my house right now because I forgot to buy them. But if I did,
Oh, whoops.
it would have been the nice kind.
Oh my god.
Fantastic. Kestrel, do you have anything to recommend?
So I don't have any anime recommendations for the next few weeks, but speaking of bounty hunters, I recommended this. This is not anime, by the way, but it fits in with Fandom Post. I recommended this when the first season was coming out because it's just a good show. And by the time this episode is out, the second season will have begun, and that is The Mandalorian. And the reason I am taking care to recommend it again is because I have watched nearly the entire Star Wars canon in the past few months, so I am
Christ.
much more deeply invested in the universe and its lore now. And not only do I care a lot more about Mandalorians in general, but there's a bunch of stuff from those series that I just watched that are going to be factored into the second season. So I'm very much looking forward to that because everyone on that show, especially Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, are just fucking kicking ass. It's so good. The first season is pretty accessible to like non-Star Wars fans. And it's just a really good like Lone Wolf and Cub type show. And also,
You mean spaghetti western?
I mean, it's specifically the Lone Wolf and Cub dynamic of the badass Western samurai father and the baby that he wheels around and protects while he
Don't
kills
let the
dudes.
internet hear you say that.
What?
It seems like the internet's torn between is it a western or is it a samurai movie, and people aren't willing to say it's both.
Yeah, that's the great thing, is that it's a different genre every episode, at least in the first season. It's getting a little bit less episodic, I think, by the end of the first season and into the second. But yeah, one of the episodes is just straight up Seven Samurai, which I thought was like a cool novel idea until I watched the Clone Wars, and one of the episodes of that is 1000% Seven Samurai, to the point that they acknowledge Kurosawa in the beginning. So yeah, anyway, if you're into Star Wars or not, check out The Mandalorian, because it is a good show. And if you're not, you'll probably be confused by part of the second season based on what it's supposed to include.
Star Wars is based off of a Kurosawa property in general, Hidden Fortress.
Yeah, that's true. And there are a lot of Kurosawa references of different kinds in the original trilogy as well. So it makes a lot of sense that both The Clone Wars and The Mandalorian would have Seven Samurai episodes.
Kessler, you've done yourself some favors and some grave misdeeds by watching the Star Wars canon.
Yeah, it's rough. I could do an entire podcast on that, obviously, because it was like 100 hours of my life.
And yet you can't finish one visual novel.
Visual
I
novels
did!
are long, man.
Kestrel finished like
Here's the
3
thing.
visual novels. Thank you very much.
All right, I finished Steins Gate twice, because one of them was...
Listen, I'm trying to get him mad.
One of them was basically an anime. So I finished Steins Gate twice, which isn't that long. And all of Muv-Luv, between Extra, Unlimited, and Alternative, with all the endings, I think, Alternative doesn't give you like a CG counter, so I don't know.
It
I
doesn't?
think it's
Really?
everything. No, yeah, it's
Weird,
weird.
yeah.
But it's like 99% linear, and then at the very end you get a few choices and it gives you like a minute of new content. So it's completely unnecessary to think of it as a visual novel. But anyway, the thing about shows versus games in general and visual novels is that with a show I can always see the finish line because I always know how long it is. So, even if I'm watching what was it, 133 episodes of the Clone Wars?
Jesus, that many? Oh my God.
And then 74 of Rebels. At least I know exactly how much I've got to get through. And I will say that the final arc of the Clone Wars, which came out this year, is the best of Star Wars.
Damn, that's a take.
Yeah, I don't think it's that hot of a take. If you've made it through Clone
it's
Wars and got to that final
Wow.
arc, it is the best shit.
Yeah, people
And
really
that's
love
like
Clone
counting
Wars.
the movies and shit too. Like it's better than those.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like,
not even close.
Yeah. The Clone Wars probably has the worst of Star Wars too. Like there's some shit in there, and the worst part about it is that it's all dependent on the original trilogy, which is mostly bad. There's some shit in the Clone Wars that's probably worse than any of that. But in 133 episodes, you get a wide range of quality. Like I said, I could do a whole podcast on this.
Indeed. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to recommend either, except the new Lupin the Third movie. Well, not new, but new to us, essentially. The Pursuit of Harumao's Treasure came out a couple days ago, and that's a really fun Lupin romp. So if you like Lupin, give it a watch. It's not Tony Oliver Lupin, which is mine and many others' favorite Lupin. It is Sonny Strait, which is still fine. That's a decent Lupin, but yeah, it's one of the better Lupin movies that I have seen, and I've watched plenty of them, and this is one of the probably more top tier ones. I think it's from the 90s, maybe mid 90s or so. But yeah, I'd give that a shot if you like Lupin. If you like the idea of Lupin, it's a fun like story about thieves and shit. So you can't really go that wrong. But that's about it. I was scrolling through the releases, and there's nothing really grabbing me other than that for, like the next couple weeks, maybe even like the next month. Unless you want to buy Dragon Ball Z steelbooks for some god-awful reason.
Okay, so here's the thing. I gotta address this. Speaking of Star Wars and the fact that you can't get the fucking version you want, this is the best way that you can own Dragon Ball Z right now. Because
it just still sucks.
It still sucks, but the other options are cropped with a quarter of the picture missing, or the Dragon Boxes, which you have to hunt down, much like the Dragon Balls themselves, scattered across the world and with
which is fun. That's kind of fun.
Life-threatening circumstances revolving around them, because if you find a copy of one, then it'll probably be hundreds of dollars. Or the 30th anniversary set, which was like a Kickstarter type dealie where you had to pledge and pre-order it during a certain time. And that is just the same discs as this, where it's finally not cropped, but it's still fucking DNR'd to shit, so they scrub out all the detail and all the film grain, so it just looks all washed out and like it's drawn with magic markers.
People are missing their mouths.
Yeah, because they just DNR the fuck out of it, and they're not going to watch 300 episodes to make sure it looks good. So you get that, and that's a step up from they're missing their mouths and also their eyes because they're cropped out. So that's Dragon Ball Z, much like the original trilogy of Star Wars.
I'm never gonna recommend anybody buy anything other than the Dragon Boxes, unless they just desperately want to own Dragon Ball Z, because You're just not gonna get a good experience.
And your other option is the level sets, which look fucking phenomenal, and they canceled after 2 sets, which covered like 30 episodes out of 300. So there you go. Those are your options. Have fun.
One of the most beloved franchises of all time, treated like one of the worst.
Yep. That is why it's such a strong parallel between that and Star Wars.
Bastards. Kate, do you have anything to recommend?
New Gorillaz album came out last week.
That is a good recommendation. I actually thought of recommending that and then forgot.
I've listened to it a lot this week, and I'm trying to put it on my list of Gorillaz albums, and it might be higher than Plastic Beach. It might have pushed Plastic Beach out of the way and taken 3rd place in my list. So
is yours Demon Days self-titled this or Plastic Beach?
Yes. Currently, that is where it stands.
Yeah, so I think it's probably either after those 3 or after those 3 Inhumans. I think it's got a better balance of all the collaborators of Humans, but also Damon is always around and present, and it feels like Gorillaz. So I think it probably bumps that up to middle of the pack.
Yeah, I just think it's very listenable. Like, yeah. I think it's more listenable than Plastic Beach. Aside from the couple of, obviously, can't listen to this in public because they're very not radio safe tracks. But, for cruising in the car, it's very listenable.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good album. I'm glad they're pumping out so much stuff so quickly.
Yeah, and I'm glad it's better than some of the last albums that came out, which I did not care for. So.
Yeah, and I mean, by that metric, we haven't gotten this good blend of what makes Gorillaz good for 10 years. So definitely nice to have it back.
Yes, it is very good. I hope Song Machine Volume 2 is just as good whenever that comes out. So.
What's your favorite song on the album?
Ooh, I don't know. I kind of like, what is it? Hold on, I have to look at a song list. Talk amongst yourselves while I pull up a song list.
My favorite is The Valley of the Pagans, which isn't too surprising because it's Gorillaz and Beck, which is a great combo.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just a really good song. And my least favorite is Friday the 13th, which I always expect to really hate when it starts, but I only marginally dislike by the end.
I'm torn between Désolé and Dead Butterflies, I think.
Yeah.
So.
Nice.
They're both good. I'm surprised at how much I like Pink Phantom.
Yeah, Pink Phantom is probably my second favorite on the album. The rapper, I think he is definitely an unwelcome third wheel there, but again, like Gorillaz plus Elton John, it just kicks ass.
he's in it so very little. Like the first time I heard it, it felt like overpowering in the track, but now it's just kind of like, oh, that's kind of like in the background now for most of the track.
Yeah.
Like, but
it's more passive than it felt at the beginning. Which is fine. It's serviceable.
Yeah. I know. It's a good album. It's a good album.
I like episodes where I can talk about anime, Star Wars, and Gorillaz.
Yeah. Good times. Good times.
So,
right, well, if that's everything.
Yeah, you want to know where you can find us, guys?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
So you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Alexa, iHeartRadio, fandompost.com, Twitter and Facebook. Follow us there, share our stuff. fandompostradio@gmail.com. Get in contact with us there, as well as those social media platforms. I'm going to also contribute to the Fandom Post Patreon, because based on Chris's recent posts, maybe there won't be a Fandom Post in a few months, in which case I don't know if there will be a Fandom Post Radio in a few months. So that would be cool if that all survived. So go give him money, please.
Yeah, do that.
I missed something, apparently.
Did you not see that, Kate?
No.
Oh, well.
There's a big dramatic article entitled "The Fandom Post Has 3 Months to Live," which is now also like the main ad banner on the site at all times.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Well, thanks for listening, everybody.
This is like an employee coming into work, being the last one to find out that they were fired.
Everybody's just apologizing to them. They're like, what's wrong?
Exactly.
I've been busy. I got a new job, so.
Oh yeah, and you can find me on Twitter at FullMetalKyoma.
Yes, please.
DJ, what
you
about
can follow me on Twitter at DJ No Style.
Excellent. Kate, how about you?
I'm on Twitter at SonicBug. I don't have anything else to say.
Give us money.
Fantastic.
And by us, I mean Chris.
Give Chris money. Keep our website stuff up.
Give monies now, please. But yeah, all right. Well then, as always, you can find me here in the podcast exclusively. I don't really do a lot of social media, so everyone, thanks for listening. Please support the podcast, and please support the Fandom Post website. Nobody wants it to see it go away in 3 months, especially the folks here at the podcast and anybody who has any sort of financial incentive or emotional incentive into it. So please support, especially in these weird-ass times that we be living in. So thanks for listening, and please join us again next time, when we will be talking some anime and maybe DJ's paper towel buying habits.
If you go to the store in search of bounty paper towels, are you a bounty hunter?
Oh, boom. Alright, adios, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
You're welcome.
Bye.